Leading Solutions. Officials from around the country come to Utah to talk immigration reform.
Scary benefits. As we get close to Halloween, we'll tell you how being scared affects your health.
And educational fairy tales. School isn't the only place to learn about culture anymore. Your kids can also hear about it in ancient folk tales. I'm Lydia DeFranchi.
And I'm Janae Anderson. It's Thursday, October 27th, and in Utah, it's 12 o'clock.
From KBYU and the BYU Department of Communications. This is the award-winning 11 News at noon.
More than 200 leaders from across the nation gathered in Salt Lake City, and their goal? To better understand how Utah is approaching immigration reform. 11 News reporter Brooke Martin went to the Mountain West Summit. Brooke, what makes other states so interested in our immigration plan?
Leaders from across the nation came to see what Utah is doing to use immigration to stimulate the local economy. And those I spoke with say Utah immigration's plan may be the solution to a national problem. Leaders from as far as Georgia and Washington, D.C. filled the Marriott Ballroom. They shared ideas and discussed the benefits immigrants bring to the local economy. Those attending included faith leaders, politicians, immigrant right advocates, and law enforcement.
So in the past year, we have become known nationally as a state that, even though we're a solid Republican state, have really approached the immigration issue in a pragmatic, workable way.
Utah's immigration reform focuses on the values and benefits immigrants bring to the economy, rather than the problems they pose. And all the recent attention encouraged Shurtleff to work on a national version of the Utah's plan. He decided the best way to start was to get other states involved.
And ultimately, the goal is to get Congress, whose responsibility this is, immigration reform is, to do the right thing and pass comprehensive immigration reform.
One problem the leaders are trying to solve is what to do with undocumented immigrants. Ali Noorani, the executive director of the National Immigration Forum, says there are three key parts in solving the problem.
Number one is that we require them to get legal status. Number two, we require them to pay their taxes. Number three, we require a criminal background check.
At the end of the day, leaders hope Utah's positive outlook on immigration will inspire similar legislation on a federal level. Utah leaders anticipate holding more conferences like this in the future as they try to find a fix for the immigration system. Now, the hope is to combine with other Midwestern states in this effort to come up with this similar immigration reform.
Thanks, Brooke. The father-in-law of missing West Valley woman Susan Powell will appear in Washington court today. Steve Powell faces 14 counts of voyeurism and 1 count of possession of child pornography. Today's hearing is to make sure that both sides share important information and evidence useful in Powell's November 16th trial. Powell has pleaded not guilty to the charges.
A new case of whooping cough has 60 junior high students staying home in Ogden. Those students are the ones without proof of immunization for the disease. School officials are also telling parents to keep their children home if they're showing symptoms such as a runny nose, fever, or uncontrolled coughing fits. When you're scared, you scream and your heart beats faster and faster, but there may be more to it. With Halloween right around the corner, we sent 11 News reporter Julianne Horsley out to discover what happens deep inside our bodies when something scares us.
For some people, they love getting scared. They thrive on the excitement of adrenaline pumping through their veins as characters like Jason chase others with his chainsaw.
You get this adrenaline rush that you don't get the rest of the week, and it's kind of a way to get out of yourself and kind of do something a little bit more fun.
Doctors wonder if getting scared can harm the body because the heart rate rapidly increases. They found your body releases hormones that make you grab onto your friend when scared, adding to that adrenaline rush that many crave.
This is a hormone called oxytocin, which builds a feeling of trust between individuals. So, when somebody takes a date, for example, to a haunted house, etc., and they both get scared, as the oxytocin is released, it actually sort of builds a feeling of trust between the two individuals.
Doctors say activities that add variety to life, like haunted houses, can reduce stress and build greater bonds between you and your friends.
Before you catch another horror film or walk through a haunted corn maze, doctors say if you suffer from chronic illnesses or have heart problems, these activities can compromise your physical as well as mental and emotional health. In Lehigh, Julianne Horsley, 11 News.
And in case you're worried, Julianne, we're happy to report made it out safe and sound. If you're wondering if a certain movie or attraction is over the top for you, doctors recommend you check out the movie ratings as well as the attraction's website for disclaimers before the Halloween fun begins. State officials confirmed the remains found in Moab last Sunday are those of world-class skydiver David Brown. He disappeared in June when he went out for a short hike. Brown taught at Skydive Moab and holds skydiving world record along with a log of more than 30,000 jumps. Police haven't released the cause of death.
A prominent piece of Provo's history is coming down. Crews will start to demolish the Center Street Bridge today. It connected East and West Provo for more than 70 years. The demolition is part of the I-15 reconstruction project, and it will take about 3 weeks. The state is asking people to send in historic pictures and stories about the viaduct. 111 News at Noon returns. Cultural Tales. See how storytelling can open your kids' eyes to the wide world around them.
And veteran jobs. They serve on our country's front lines, but come back to unemployment lines. More when we come back. Fairy tales and nursery rhymes aren't the only things toddlers are getting from Storytime. 11 News reporter Jocelyn Langford tells us about a new BYU program that's giving young children a lesson in world cultures.
4-year-old Laura Ralston loves a good story, and this one is teaching her about ancient Egypt. The BYU Museum of Peoples and Cultures is attracting young children like Laura to a new weekly story time. And the kids aren't just listening to the average fairy tale. Each week, children get to listen to a folk tale from around the world that helps them learn about different places.
They might connect the idea and the stories with the culture and country.
To get the kids excited about the stories, Warner passes around Egyptian artifacts and asks the kids questions.
You guys know anything about Egypt?
For those too young to sit still through a whole story, the museum has culture-specific toys and games for kids to play.
The kids get to sit here and listen to their stories surrounded by artifacts from the museum's gallery, like this duck made out of reeds from over 2,000 years ago.
It's not just listening to a story that kids get excited about. There's an activity afterwards that relates to the tale. To go along with their Egyptian story, the kids learned how to write their names in hieroglyphics. Laura's mom explains, while Laura might not completely understand the stories, the activity was perfect.
She loves doing the pictures, the hieroglyphs. Loves anything involving letters.
In Provo, Jocelyn Langford, 11 News.
For the schedule and directions to the museum Storytime, click on Jocelyn's story on our website, 11news.byu.edu.
Mitt Romney is ahead in key states. Veterans struggle to find jobs, and E. coli breaks out in North Carolina. Here's your look at news from across the nation. Presidential hopeful Mitt Romney was all smiles at a Republican phone bank yesterday. The reason? He leads the polls in the first 4 states to vote in next year's primaries. 40% of voters in New Hampshire say Romney's their guy. Iowa, South Carolina, and Florida also put him ahead. Romney said he plans on beating his biggest competition, President Obama. They defend our country every day, but statistics say veterans have a tough time finding everyday jobs. In Texas, Fort Hood wanted to show the local CEOs what kind of skills the soldiers have by putting them to test against workplace professionals. The CEOs said they were impressed with the soldiers' hard work, drive, and attention to detail. And in North Carolina, more than 1 million people enjoyed the state fair, but 8 visitors walked away with a little more than they bargained for. They got sick with E. coli. And now North Carolina officials are trying to figure out if the fair was the site of the outbreak. 3 children are still in the hospital, but officials say they should recover. That's your look at news from across the nation. Janae?
Still to come on the news at noon, hunting the hunters. Authorities need your help in keeping 65,000 people in check during this year's deer hunt. And Scaredy Cat? Are you brave enough to take a walk through these haunted grounds? We'll show you where to go this Halloween to get your scream on.
Our temperatures are cooling down, but are we headed for a little snow and rain? Your 11 weather when we return.
So Sarah, we've all got got big plans for this Halloween weekend.
Yeah, lots of anxious trick-or-treaters waiting for this forecast, so give us good news.
Well, I'm happy to report that there's going to be no rain or snow for the next 5 days at least, and those trick-or-treaters are going to be as happy as can be.
All right.
But I know I felt those temperatures chill a lot over these last few weeks, and today proves to be the same. Looking outside, we can still enjoy those nice fall colors and on those trees and just enjoy that sunshine. But as I was walking to campus, burr with 3 R's. Baby, it is cold outside. Currently, it is 32 degrees with 74% humidity, which tells us why it was a cool, brisk morning. What to expect, though, we are going to jump up to a nice 53 with mostly sunny skies, and again, as that daylight savings is right around the corner next weekend, that sunset is coming in closer and closer, and now it is at 6:30 p.m., so you can expect that sun to come down pretty early tonight. Looking across the United States, we saw a storm over the Pacific head towards us overnight, so we felt that cooler, chilly night, and it did affect us this morning, but it did pass through, so we are still seeing the effects, but it's not over us anymore. So our Utah highs for today are a bit chillier than usual, with 52 degrees in Logan, 50 in Provo, and our St. George friends always hitting that 80, and it's 67. So we can see that storm did affect us a little bit. For their 5-day forecast in southern Utah, 67 is the coolest day for the next 5 days, but as the weather heads into the weekend, we're seeing 70s jumping up to 75 on Saturday and Sunday 76. At night, it is going to be a bit cooler with those 40-degree temperatures, so it's time to bundle up because it is going to be chilly at night. For northern Utah, Thursday today is going to be 49, so it is going to be a bit cooler up in Salt Lake City. And then heading into the weekend, there is going to be cloud coverage, and on Monday, we're seeing a nice 59 degrees for Halloween. And as it heads into the night, though, make sure if you have any kids out there trick-or-treating, make sure you bundle them up because it is going to chill down to very cold 39 degrees.
Cold, but no snow,
no
rain.
No rain.
All right.
It's always great when you bring us good news.
Exactly. Manageable. Thanks, Sarah. So we're about 3/4 of the way through the football season, and we're gearing up for our winter sports.
Yeah, and Kelsey has more on how some of our BYU athletes have tricks to get through the season.
That's right. The BYU athletes are working on their mental toughness because it's not just about the muscles when they're preparing for big games. And on the hunt, deer season's here, but hunters aren't the only ones heading to the mountains. These officers are chasing down poachers and need your help. Sports is next. Stay tuned. Working out isn't the only way athletes prepare before a big game. They also have to work out their minds. 11 sports reporter Otavio Souza tells us how preparing mentally can help athletes perform better.
Fans watching sports just see the physical part of the games, but most of them don't know how much athletes prepare mentally to perform well under pressure. BYU coaches count on psychologists to help their athletes with this important part of the game.
I think our ability to perform skills at the highest level is what ends up winning matches. And to be able to do that under great pressure takes a lot of mental fortitude, takes a lot of confidence.
BYU sports psychologist Marie Worsham helps athletes think positive in tough situations. She says it's hard for them to stay optimistic all the time.
Skills to increase your positive thinking ability helps a lot because it enhances performance, changes your emotional state, improves performance. I think that's probably one that underlies a lot of other skills.
It looks easy to throw a football when there's no one watching you, but it's different when the stadium is packed, everyone is watching you, and the pressure is on.
Patrick Kauka plays tennis for BYU. He says it's not just about hitting the ball over the net. Tennis is a mind game too.
What makes it so difficult is the mental aspect of it and how physically tiring it is, and still having to incorporate more of your mind.
With their coaches' help, the Cougars are learning they must physically and mentally prepare to perform their best. From Provo, Otavio Souza, 11 Sports.
The athletic department also encourages athletes to take sports psychology classes as a tool to help them deal with pressure. Rain has been a constant theme for the MLB postseason games this year, and it came into play last night. The Texas Rangers and the St. Louis Cardinals took the gift of extra rest after last night's game was postponed, and now the question on people's minds is, will the delay affect the team's lineup?
I am not changing the things that I've been doing all year. That's why we're where we are.
It's game, and the Rangers manager Ron Washington is standing firm in his decision to stick with Matt Harrison for Game 7, despite the ability of Game 4 star Derek Holland. And when asked to reveal his Game 7 starter, Cardinals manager Tony La Russa is focusing on taking it one game at a time.
Most importantly is for us to concentrate on 6.
With about 65,000 people heading to the hills this year's deer hunt officers from Division of Wildlife Resources have their hands full keeping law and order on the mountainsides. 11 Sports reporter Brian Grimmett joined them to see what it takes to keep everyone and everything safe.
It might be deer season, but what you're looking at is no deer. It's actually a poached bull elk. Whoever shot this animal left all 600 pounds of it to rot, probably realizing that if caught, they faced arrest and heavy fines. But little did they know that Scott Johnson and Michael Prostgard saw the whole thing.
Kind of watched it happen and kind of give you a sickness in your stomach, and we thought, well, the best thing to do was report it and find.
And people wait around their whole life to shoot a big bull elk, and somebody just comes up here and does it for fun. It ain't right, you know.
For Officer Sean Bagley of the Department of Wildlife Resources, a tip that leads to a fine like this
did just what a bullet's supposed to do.
Usually means the beginning of a whole different kind of pursuit.
During the deer hunt, we get the wrong species taken or the wrong gender. They also will take too many, and so it happens, unfortunately, too often. What we're going to pursue now is go contact some individuals that were in the area and see if they have any additional information.
But finding the poachers among the thousands of other hunters won't be easy. Even so, the DWR says they're doing everything they can to help prevent these problems.
The Department of Natural Resources only gives out a limited number of licenses each year, so they use check stations like this one behind me to make sure everyone's obeying the law.
DWR biologist Riley Peck helps work this check station. He says that every rule exists for the protection of both the hunter and the wildlife.
We want to make sure that they're a sustainable species that we can have for many years, so that, you know, mine and your grandchildren and great-grandchildren can appreciate the species for many years to come.
In the Uinta National Forest, Brian Grimmett, 11 Sports.
Officer Bagley says that they need your help. If you've seen a poaching violation, you can click on Brian's story at 11news.byu.edu to find out more information on how to file a report.
Yeah, it's sad to see such a waste, and it really goes to show just how important it is to keep up on the local regulations.
Yeah, I come from a family of avid hunters in Pennsylvania, and I feel like this happens everywhere you go throughout our country.
Yes. And it was some pretty gruesome videos, so hopefully they can stop the poachers.
Yeah, thanks, Kelsey.
Still to come on 11 News at noon, free screams. With Halloween coming up, we'll show you a good place to get a jolt of adrenaline for free. We'll be right back.
Skeletons, graveyard, and coffins, oh my. 11 News reporter Taylor Lansford shows us a nearby spook alley that will cost guests nothing except a few screams.
Welcome to the Haunted Halloween Lair. My name is Eileen, and I will be your guide this evening.
The Champy's house looks like any other house on the block, but at Halloween it turns into the town's spookiest lair. Jessica Champy always had a love for spook alleys and wanted to bring one to her own backyard.
I decided I wanted to do my own, and I started making plans. And
Jessica recruited her dad to help her set up the haunted walkthrough, but he wasn't always so sure about his daughter's big idea.
And I wasn't all that excited to do it, but once I started getting into it, then it kind of got addictive, and year after year, and just kind of grew into a big thing. It kind of gets in your blood, you know, and then you have to stick with it.
to make the walkthrough as
as frightening as possible, the Champneys use moving props and live actors, from dead brides to dead maids.
Mortal guests start in a graveyard and are led into several rooms decked out in creepy decorations that change every year.
I can't have it the same every year, so I got to do new stuff.
Unlike other haunted attractions that have guests digging deep in their pockets, the Haunted Halloween Lair is free to the public for all 4 days it is open. In Spanish Fork, Taylor Lansford, 11 News.
Wow, that looks like fun and such an elaborate setup.
Yeah, good for them.
And that's your 11 News at noon for Thursday, October 27th.
You can join us anytime and get the directions to the Halloween home Taylor mentioned on our website, 11news.byu.edu.
Thanks for watching and have a great afternoon.